Guys, I need to talk to you about Iron Athlete Clinics. Iron Athlete provides clinics, seminars, and coaching for everyone from beginners to accomplished athletes. There are plenty of people putting on clinics and seminars these days, but a lot of them are just schmucks who threw up a website and a PayPal account. Iron Athlete Clinics are run and coached by real athletes at the top of their field. You want to learn weightlifting? You'll learn from national and Olympic level weightlifters. You want to learn strongman? You're going to learn from pro level strongmen. Gymnastics, mobility, rowing, even online coaching. Iron Athlete provides training on a level you never thought you'd have access to. Or maybe your gym is looking for a way to break through plateaus. Contact Iron Athlete and ask about hosting a clinic at your gym. It's not only a fun way to bring your box together, but it'll jump everyone's game who attends. For info, visit ironathleteclinics.com. That's ironathleteclinics.com. Iron Athlete. Iron sharpens iron. Gymnastics seminar at?
It was called Down and Dirty CrossFit. So
Okay.
They've been there for 2 years. Still kind of a relatively new facility and group of people. So it's fun because it definitely had that grassroots feel. It hasn't blown up too big yet, and working with a lot of athletes who are probably within their first year to 2 years of CrossFit.
Oh, so they're all still so
it was
excited.
Kind of that vibe. Oh yeah, like just motivated, just eating everything up. You know, it wasn't there wasn't anything I could throw at them that they were like, you know, oh, we've done that a million times. You know, everything was still like fresh and like, what is this? What are we doing? You know, so could have spent hours there, but had a good couple hours, and it was fun. It's been a little bit since I've done a clinic, so it was good to get back into it again.
Right on. Very cool. I'm so glad we could get you on. It was August Schmidt who first suggested that I get in contact with you over at East
I was
Valley.
wondering about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good friend. I really like, and I'm glad I got to know him. He's a great guy to know, and he's made a lot of great introductions for me. So that's cool. I didn't know that he was your connection. So right on.
Yeah, I train over, I don't train at East Valley full time, but I train with their strongman club, and August.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of August, so when he suggests something, I tend to listen.
Yeah, good. I mean, that seems like a smart thing to do. I do too, and I don't even know him that well. I'll just be like, all right, August, whatever you say.
August produce, I mean, he just kind of, if he wants to do something, he seems to succeed at it. And if he doesn't want to do it, there's probably a reason.
Yeah, no, I think he is. I think he's very knowledgeable about his craft and, his business. He seems like he's, pretty business savvy and has a good, just kind of core group of like connections of people inside the sport and also within lifting. And so I think that's awesome. I know if I was in Arizona, I'd definitely be out there. I think his strongman thing that he has going on there would be a lot of fun. He's got a lot of great equipment and some good coaches too. So
yeah, it's cool.
It's a lot of fun. That's fun that you do that.
Do you do any strongman implements or anything, like even as part of like just kind of mixing it up?
Just a little. Like I know I haven't even touched most of the stuff that they do. The Atlas stonework that we do, you see at different events. So I played with that, and then just some keg stuff like ground to shoulder. And a little bit overhead with that. I don't even know the name of all the equipment. The one with the big barrel wrapped around the bar. What's that called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The log.
Oh, is that just, it's a log? So I've kind of played with that a little bit, kind of similar to like pulling it in, cleaning it, and rolling it up to my shoulders.
That's the log.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a lot. What else is there that strongman, they throw stuff, don't they? I don't know.
Sometimes strongman events are unique in that like there isn't a hard and fast number of implements, and a lot of times they'll do similar stuff but use a different implement. Like they'll do deadlifts, but like you might go to a different event where they do what they call frame deadlifts, or a different event where they do suitcase deadlifts. And like that's a thing about people that are into CrossFit and they're playing around with strongman. Even if they go to like a hybrid event, they should be prepared to see equipment they've never touched before because someone just made it. Like
that's amazing, and that would be very beneficial. I mean, we've seen that a lot last couple of years at the games. There's just new equipment that you've never seen. We're not allowed to touch until it's 3, 2, 1, go, and then it's figure it out on the spot. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think it definitely sounds like a lot of fun. I think I was at SickFit probably about 3 years ago, and they had, they have all different kinds of demos going on, and I think they had a strongman area that my husband came over and he's like, you should see what these guys are doing. Like, it was blowing his mind because it was like random things that they were like, I think, like you said, deadlifting. I can't even remember if it was like the back of a car, like a bumper or something.
Yeah,
they'll
do vehicle deadlifts. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's pretty exciting. So I don't know, like, if I personally would be able to be very competitive in it, but that would be fun to like just play around and do some different stuff as long as I don't hurt myself.
I think you'd actually do fine, especially now they're starting to strongman is starting to take a cue from the success that like a lot of sports, they saw the financial success that CrossFit had, and them and powerlifting, and like they can, people in those sports can say like, oh no, we've always been here. Yes, they've always been there, but some of them are starting to alter, like they're starting to create new weight classes and like hybrid events because they're seeing other modalities that are making a lot more money and getting a lot more install base than they are because they've held on to the notion for so long that they're like, my thing is special and underground and you can't be a part of it. And then it's like, that mindset is
ego, like it's for like a special group of people where really it's like kind of smothering themselves in their own opportunity to kind of grow within the sport. Yeah, it's funny too because last year I went out to the American Open for the first time for the Ole comp, obviously, and in Dallas, and I was just kind of sitting in the background, and the majority of the people there were from just a lifting background. There were quite a few CrossFitters, and there were a couple of older coaches in front of me, and they were just kind of under their breath, like bad-mouthing all the CrossFitters and how obnoxious it was and how we're tainting their sport, and so you definitely get, like, two different personalities, and you'll meet the other side that's just like excited for the new competition and for the growth and for the, just all the new attention that it's getting. It's kind of just breathing a new life into their sport, and so they're welcoming it with open arms. So I think it's interesting to kind of sit back and hear both sides, and I can appreciate it a little bit in the sense that I don't know, you kind of have your pride behind your craft, and you don't want somebody to just kind of come in and like muck it up,
Yeah,
like,
I
what
get.
the hell are you doing? This isn't how it's done, and I get that, but I don't know. I do think it's silly to try and be exclusive about things like that. So
yeah, and I agree with you that I understand the mindset of like, this thing is mine, and I like that it's mine. I've talked to, the smarter business people I've talked to, like I've talked to like Brandon Morrison, who's a strong man. And I've talked to I've got like people like August and the smart ones that are business people that are not all wrapped up in their own pride can look around and go, maybe if more people were interested in my sport, it would get more funding. And maybe if more people were interested in my sport, there would be more standouts and we wouldn't just have the same 3 people on the podium every week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And why wouldn't you want that, And I think as an athlete, too, the more competitive you get and the more refined you become, you welcome, or I think for the most part, you welcome that competition. You want to bring in other opportunities in other ways to be challenged. And so I agree with you completely. I think it's really smart, and people who are open-minded to it. I think also CrossFit in a way has helped, like you said, open those doors to help people realize, like, I don't know if it was just me personally, but I think in general, there was kind of a mindset before, like, oh, I didn't grow up in this sport. Like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll look like an idiot. Like, you kind of, I think in America, like, you know, as a kid, your parents put you in different things, and through your experience, you kind of stick to it. You're able to do, you know, intramural stuff or team sports and participate, however, go to college, or maybe it's just something you do, weekend warrior kind of thing. But I think CrossFit's kind of enabled people to be like, I can branch out. I can look like a fool. I'll try that. Like, I've
it's okay to suck
more
for a while.
and more, you know, what's that?
I said it's okay to suck for a while.
Yeah, and I think it's also helped them not to be intimidated by variety, obviously. You know, we don't just do one single thing, and so I think it definitely opened the door for lifting, and it's doing that for, like you said, strongman and Spartan races and things that people normally, it would be outside of their, you know, comfort zone or what they're naturally capable of, and thinking like, oh, I want a different challenge. Like that looks pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's great. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. In fact, I remember seeing, so is it the same thing Katie Hogan went out and did, where it kind of seemed like a strongman, but they were in kilts? What's that called?
Oh, those are Highland. That's the Highland Games. And like a lot of strongmen cross over into Highland Games.
Into the Highland Games, yeah. And I was like, dude, that's so rad. Like throwing telephone poles and I don't know, they like hammers and everything. That just looked like a lot of fun. I don't know.
And those are fun. Like you could probably sign up for that and do fairly well. Like those, the Highland Games is one of those things. Like, yeah, some people train for the Highland Games, but most people are just, they're really, it's really strong dudes and ladies that are just like, I'll give this a shot. Like, and I'll see how far I can throw that.
But
if you're interested in strongman, like I would tell anybody, if you're interested in just, you don't have to be a strongman to do strongman implements. And in fact, a serious strongman would say, like, don't call yourself in the same way, don't call yourself a weightlifter if you, just because you lift weights. Don't call yourself a strongman just because you're doing strong. Like, I train with strongman implements. I am not a strongman. But like, just get yourself a keg. You can go to any liquor store and they will give you an empty keg for $35. Get yourself a keg, get yourself a yoke and a log and a pair of farmer handles, and you're good. And all of that equipment together will cost you $1,000. Like, that'll cost you $1,000. Or maybe you talk to the people at your gym and you host it. You host an event where the purpose of the event is just to get money to pay for gear, so you can have a class once a week to teach people these implements. Because they're coming up. People like there was just a couple of years ago. They were saying they're like we're not going to do like Rob Orlando has asked for years. He's like, I want to see Grace with stones in as a final event, and was told flatly years ago that'll never happen. And recently he was told maybe. Like maybe. Well, and I don't know that for sure. I just know that he said he was like he indicated that like the mood had definitely shifted.
That's really interesting. And when I consider it, like, part of it is really appealing to me, and then I can't help but cringe at the same time. You know what I mean? And I think the only reason I say that is in a competitive atmosphere, when it's 3, 2, 1, go, like, sometimes people aren't the smartest about, controlling an object, and something that's like as roughly shaped as a stone compared to like a barbell. There's a lot that could go wrong there, which doesn't mean that athletes are stupid and they couldn't make that adaptation. No. But I think I could see why it's like a little bit of a hesitation before we do something like that, So, but no, that's really cool. I mean, that's really fairly inexpensive to get that much equipment in your hands and something that you could really train and condition with. Would you say like YouTube different things? So once you got a keg, if you get on YouTube, you could find different movements that you could. Yeah, I would definitely say. I honestly am not very creative. I'd be like, okay, now what?
That is one thing Strongman has going for it, is a lot of the implements. If you have a buddy who's a welder, you can just have a lot of them made. And like a keg, like I said, like you can just go, liquor stores will give you an empty keg, assuming you're going to make your own beer, for a $35 deposit. Here's what happens. You just never return it.
Yeah, you just drink beer all the time, or that's what they think anyways.
Yeah,
they just throwing it around in your backyard.
Yeah, you gave them the $35 deposit. As far as they're concerned, you just don't get your money back if you never return the keg. And then you fill it with sand. By the way, everybody out there, fill it with sand. Unless you're an experienced lifter. I made this mistake. Don't fill it with water, because now I can't open the thing and it's full of water, and it is way harder to lift than one with sand because it's constantly moving.
Oh yeah.
But, by the way, howdy Quadzilla. This is the longest we've ever gone without actually introducing the show. Sorry, we had a good conversation going on there. So
I forgot we're doing a show.
It's Saturday, and I have on the line. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Tiffany Hendrickson, and I'm a CrossFit athlete originally, but like I said, I'm also into lifting and adventure sports, anything that gets me out on the weekend. And I don't know why I just said that.
And you're out of...
Think of how else you can introduce yourself. Mother of 3. I guess that's pretty important.
And I'm going to butcher the name. You're out of... What's your box?
Wasatch CrossFit.
Thank you.
So it's, just here in Utah. Damon Stewart's the owner. He's also the regional director for the Southwest.
Oh, right. Okay.
The super region this year.
I didn't know that.
So, that's him.
Yeah, there's a lot of shifting going on for the Open and regionals this year. New rules, new regions. Like it's different scaled divisions, super regionals.
And I think it's exciting. I think it's great. I think it's in the long run going to be a lot more entertaining for the spectator, as well as a lot more beneficial for the athletes. I think it'll be more true to form, or I guess more similar of a games experience. It won't be necessarily, spot on, but I think it'll be a smoother transition from regionals to games, meaning now that we're combining regions and there's kind of more athletes with less spots, you're going to see a little bit more shifting in the leaderboard as opposed to maybe what you're used to seeing in the past. And I know for the Southwest the last few years, after day one, you kind of get an idea who your top 5 are going to be, and you'll see them just shuffle a few spots, throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think now with the super regions and adding more athletes to that area, you're going to have less of a margin for error, which is very similar to games. You have a lot more competitive athletes that are closer, in strength and ability. And so I think it'll be a little bit more competitive, and I think it'll be a great atmosphere. It'll be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I was not going to enter the Open this year just because I got away from CrossFit and have been kind of doing my own thing lately. So I'm just powerlifting and doing strongman. So my Metcons are definitely, I have no motor anymore.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to give it another try. Cool. I'm definitely going to fail, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it anyway. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you don't know that. So do it. I'm really curious to see, but I do. But I'm going to be honest with myself. Yeah, no, I'm curious. I think it'll be fun to see. I'm hoping they change it up a little bit more and we see more than a Fran variation. And, we start to see these similarities and these patterns come out. And I get it. They are great tests of strength and endurance and skill, but I feel like we could be a little bit more creative than that. So who knows? We'll see. It should be fun, and hopefully there's a little bit different element to the whole experience, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. So
yeah, I just want to see heavier weight.
That'd be great for you.
I want to see less body weight and more heavy weights.
Heavier weight, slow it down a little bit. Yeah.
And nothing longer than 7 minutes.
That would be rough for me. Yeah. But no, I hear you. I think a lot of people feel the same way, and would love to do that or see that as well. So that'll be fun.
I'm not in charge of programming. That's up to Castro. We're really stoked to have you on. People who watched the games last year hopefully remember you. You kind of smoke. Do you want to talk about your games experience? Obviously, we can talk about the Muscle Up biathlon is the first on my mind.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Last year was a great games experience for me. It was my second year to the games. And I definitely went in with a little bit different attitude, a little bit different goals, and hoping for a better outcome. And I definitely experienced that. The first year at the games, I ended up finishing 31st, and that was really disappointing to me. You know, I thought I was going to go in and have a little bit stronger showing for my first year, but this last year I was able to finish 11th, so quite a bit of improvement. I honestly, personally, I loved the programming more, and I don't necessarily feel like, I mean, I know another year under my belt and more training under my belt, it was definitely beneficial, but I also think the way the programming was organized, I really felt like it was well balanced. And the year before, I feel like it was harder being a smaller athlete. Like, it just really, I just felt like it was hard for me to get on top of my game, and there were a couple of events that kind of did benefit the smaller, lighter weight, but then they would throw in something like the run would be, you know, the upper deck where we ran up the stairs. It was, now I'm going to forget, the overhead squats and the running. Mm-hmm. And so the running kind of was just, we were handicapped a little bit so that we couldn't get too much of a head start. Anyways, it was rough, and coming back this year, I just kind of felt like, you know, it was time to just go balls out and not be so intimidated by that big of a stage. And it's easy, you know, to say that, but then to really feel that and get in that kind of atmosphere and around that energy and around those amazing athletes and be like, all right, if I end up on my face, I'm going to be on my face, but I'm going to know I leave it all out here on the floor, and that's hard to do. Like,
do you
on
get
that big of a scale, but I feel like I've kind of achieved that, and it paid off this last year. So
very cool. Do you find that you get jitters from big crowds, or do you feed off the stadium?
There's a moment for both. It's definitely, I experienced both, and anybody who's competed in any kind of sport, I'm sure can relate. So you have your moment of anticipation, you know, your week before the event, and you're experiencing that anxiety a little bit, all the nerves, and then you arrive and you're there and we're taking it in. You know, they're just kind of giving us a tour through the Home Depot. We're having our athletes dinner, and there's a new surge of adrenaline just taking in the whole, you know, the grandness of the stage that you're competing on, and imagining the crowd and the people that's going to be there. And then you arrive at your first event, and that energy for me becomes this calm, like it goes from this, I don't know, raging kind of storm to this calm, like, power. And I don't know if that makes any sense or not. And I've had both,
like where everything gets real
being
quiet
a gymnast,
for a while.
Where all of a sudden you just feel like you can sit with it, and you feel like it's just like you could rip anything off the ground and throw it over your head. You know, it's just like that perfect storm where you have a surge of energy and excitement, and, you know, it's all the training that you've done behind you, and now it's time to perform. And for me, it took me a minute to realize, like, I need to allow this to help me rise to my greatest potential, as opposed to, like, I don't know, like a fire being smothered or put out, because that adrenaline and all that energy you can let it swing to the other end, and you can go in, and before you even touch a bar, it'll be 3, 2, 1, go. And then you just, like, you're already at adrenal fatigue. You know what I mean? And you touch the bar, and it, like, feels like 500 pounds, and you're like, what is going on? You know? But it's because you were so hyper and so anxious and all these other things. You're focusing on all the wrong things, and then you go in there and it almost just is draining. So I've kind of learned how to just focus that and channel that energy and let it, you know, help me with whatever that event might be, as opposed to, I don't know, suffocating it. And I think it was great. I loved that one of the first events we did in the Home Depot Center, or sorry, I keep calling it the Home Depot Center. Or is that what it's called?
Is it StubHub now? What is it?
StubHub. I don't
let's say Carson. Let's say Carson.
So in Carson, thank you. So the first event in Carson at the StubHub was the overhead squat, but they had this pressure element to it. You know what I mean? It's not everybody out there, go at your own pace. You have this cutoff. It's you will go when I say go, and you have this amount of time to hit your lift. And that's it. You get 3 chances. And I love that sort of pressure. I really feed off of it. And I think there are athletes out there that were capable of so much more weight, but under the pressure, you know, it's like their nerves got the better of them because you start to think as soon as your mind starts to kind of, I don't know, you let other things slip in like doubt and fear and like, oh, what if I'm off? What if, you know, the bar comes too far forward or whatever? You start thinking the wrong things, and then it's just there's no room for, you know, little mix-ups like that, and the bar's gone before you know it, you know? And so just really learning how to channel in on what you want to accomplish and how you're going to do it, and not letting, I don't know, the energy of the crowd or the numbers of the girl next to you kind of take from that. So yeah, definitely as a competitor, it's amazing. And there's moments too, at the same time, to be honest, towards the end of the weekend, when we were in lockdown, they took us back to a room where we had to just, you know, wait. We didn't know what our events were. We couldn't talk to anybody. We weren't around our, you know, coaches or anything. And it's just after a long weekend, at that point, I was kind of like, fucking let's go. Like, I'm so tired and I want to go home and I'm tired of all the hype. Like, I don't know. It's hard to juggle because you're on a high and then you exhaust yourself and then, you know, you're coming off the field like, oh shit, we're going to go in 2 hours again. And then you're on a high. And so this roller coaster up and down. And yeah, anyways, that part of it, the emotional and the adrenaline and the crowd and the energy, like all of that is really great. And it's just learning how to channel it. So I really enjoy that aspect of competition for sure.
I was curious.
Yeah.
This is just a one thing for me. I was curious about the environment, like because you're up in Utah, so you're acclimated to what I'm assuming is a temperate climate. It is really hot by the time the games have rolled around. Does that affect you at all? Because I know there are certain athletes, especially like Canadian athletes, and that are just like. They're like, this is not my environment. Like 100 degrees in the open sun is not where I perform. Like, let's have these games in February, and then we'll see how.
Yeah, no, and I think it definitely I know it affects a lot of athletes, and I think I'm pretty lucky coming from one, like our summers out here they're pretty hot. It gets pretty crazy, and my coach will intentionally. We did a session. I remember it stands out, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. Before the games last year, where he took the Aerodyne out and put it on the blacktop. And was like, all right, we have intervals. You hit this many calories in this kind of sprint. You can come inside on your interval. Like, I think I had like a minute off, and then I'd go like a minute on, and I had to maintain my calories or there was some horrid penalty. And basically, like, he put it far enough out so it was outside of the shade, but I could make it inside and breathe for about 20 seconds before I had to go back out, because I want to say it was 95, 90. It was pushing 100 that day, and it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was so hot that before I finished my intervals, my screen melted, zapped the screen. And so I definitely had an opportunity quite a few times to do some track work, some, work outside in the sun, because that is that element alone definitely can change your whole game plan. I experienced this, a small form of heat exhaustion on the triple this year, just being out on that blacktop. And when you're pushing your body at that, to hold or maintain a certain pace and you're in the blaring sun, it definitely does. So I think, I don't think it's too shocking for me, but it's not ideal, obviously, and it's not a training environment that I do most often. It's just, on occasion we'll make sure to get out there. So I can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, I guess, in that situation. So, yeah.
So, you've been to the games twice now, which that alone is that puts you in the 99th percentile of athletes.
Yeah.
So I was curious, like you got into the sport in 2010, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What was your point of entry? Like what first got you into this?
Yeah. That's a good question. We just had relocated. My husband was just getting out of the military, and we had been living in England. Decided to settle down, or wanted to put down roots, so we're thinking Utah because I have a lot of family out here. So we're just getting settled in, and I have always been very active, had a membership at Gold's or whatever the local gym was. And so in that process, I was kind of looking for somewhere to kind of get started. And I actually hadn't ever done any CrossFit up to that point. And my husband hit me up one afternoon and he's like, there's a CrossFit gym here, like in Utah. Like, he was really shocked, and so was I, because all we knew before he moved overseas was that it was some fanatic crazy people online, like in California, I don't.
The stuff you saw on YouTube.
We were really surprised. He's like, you should go check it out. I think you would like it. And so I did. Like, the next day, I kind of just went in and I was like, hey, what's this all about? I want to join a gym, And they were like, yeah, why we have a class at 10 or whatever if you want to jump in. Like, that was before there was really any like basics or intro. It was just kind of, we just jump in the main class and do the WOD of the day. And ironically enough, it was Fran, and I had no idea what that meant. I was like, whatever. I was capable and strong enough of doing like pull-ups at the time, but my background being gymnastics, like, we did strict pull-ups, so I did Fran with strict pull-ups.
Which puts you at a marked
like looking
advantage.
around. I think it took me like 12 and a half minutes or something.
That's still solid.
And I was like looking at people like, they are sloppy. What is going on here? Like, because everybody's frantically like, fast thrusters, get on the bar, kipping pull-ups, and I'm like really concerned about my technique and position. Just kind of moving through, like, all right, that was interesting. Like, sure, I'll come back, And so my background mostly, at the time, my youngest was, I want to say, about 15 months, so just over a year. And I was in okay shape, but pretty out of shape, I guess. But I definitely had a lot of, I'd say, muscle memory, just from being active my whole life and growing up in gymnastics. And like I said, I'd done the aerobics and the spin class and the kickboxing and whatever before I found it. So that was kind of my background. And then first year, I think within the first month, I started coming 3 to 4 days a week because I'm very competitive, and I kind of realized, like, oh, this is what's going on. And I noticed the leaders on the whiteboard, and some of the girls in the morning class were really strong and fit and fast, and I was like, all right, I'm going to keep up with her. And, and so that just, like, drove me crazy until I was, like, toe-to-toe with them. And so about the end of that first year, Damon Stewart and Tommy Hackenbrook host an event out here in Utah called Fitness Elevated. And at the time, it was the only competition you could do. So Damon was like, hey, I think you should compete this weekend. And I was like, sure, whatever. I like competition. I didn't know what I was doing, really, but it was a 2-day comp, and we had 3 events each day. And that was a big eye-opening experience. Like, hey, guess what? Don't go out and kill yourself on the first workout, because you still have like 7 more workouts to do. So I went out, and on the first one, like, PR'd my best time ever. I don't know what it was, but it was something horrible. And I just remember getting off the bar and, like, it's funny, I think my husband snapped a picture. I still have it, and I look like I'm green, like I'm going to puke, and I'm just, like, all shaky. And I had, like, 30 minutes before we were going to go out for the next event, which was, like, this 5K run or something. And I'm like, how am I supposed to stand right now? So that just kind of continued to fuel the fire. I was like, oh, so not only do you get good at, like, working out, but you need to get good at, like, working out, recovering, and then working out again, and being smart. There's some strategy here. Not, you just don't go out and, like I said, just kill yourself on the first workout. So there were things that I learned along that first year that my weak points that became blaringly obvious. Like, obviously, I picked up the gymnastic stuff really quick, and I'm naturally a pretty quick runner. Aerobics and great cardio-based, anaerobic based. But then as soon as I had to get under some weights, I was like, I was just squashed pretty much. So the end of that first year, I made it to regionals, and I decided to go, or the first year that I went individual at regionals, I dislocated 2 of my ribs on the one-arm snatch on the 75-pound dumbbell. I just, had not prepared myself for that. My body was like, ah. So we just continued to kind of tweak my programming, and a lot of strength cycles after that. That's probably 70% of my focus still even now is being able to get under, weight. That's something that I notice if I don't stay on top of that, those numbers start to slip, and I lose that edge pretty quick, where I could get away from my muscle-ups or my pull-ups for a week or 2, and then it doesn't take much time to sharpen them back up. I don't know if that makes sense. But, I guess going from having 3 kids and being somewhat athletic and competitive to really deciding, no, I want to go to the games. I see what that's all about now. I see how regionals work. So let's focus on that, and then tweaking programming and extra hours in the gym, and just, surrounding yourself with kind of like-minded people. So it's been an interesting kind of, I guess, experience and road that I've traveled down. In fact, the very first year I went to regionals, I went team, and the last day, one of the final workouts was Team Amanda, and I had skin the shape of quarters missing from the palm of my hands from a hundreds workout the day before. So my hands were just bloody and wrecked. And I really was still fairly new to the muscle up. And my coach loves to tell us that I DNF'd that workout. I couldn't even finish. I think I got through my set of 9, and that was it in the time cap. So it's pretty cool. It's amazing. I mean, at the time, I was furious, I was just really upset because I was so invested in that weekend and my success, and I DNF a workout, and so to go from there to, like you said, this last year and be able to win the Muscle Up Biathlon, it's been great. There's been a lot of challenges, and I haven't loved every single challenge, but it's fun to look back in retrospect and be like, hell yeah, I did that, Yeah.
So speaking of stuff that you don't love, just talking about the games proper, what were some of the events that you were just like, what the shit is this about? Why are we even doing this?
Yeah. I didn't have that much experience with that so much this last year. I'm trying to see.
There wasn't anything that you were just like, this is so not my thing.
So not my thing. I mean, the first event, obviously, swimming is not a big strength of mine, but that was kind of my own fault, and it wasn't anything shocking. I'm trying to relive all the other events. The Friday night one, I think for the most part, I really enjoyed all the programming. I loved that they made one of the strength events a speed ladder this year. How cool is that? And I think it was really exciting and fun for the spectators to watch. And for me, being a little bit smaller athlete, gave me a little bit of a benefit because the bigger girls didn't have all day to set up out there and throw down their weights. We were just 1, 2, and 3. So I love that. I think the one that I really kind of hated was the rope climb with the overhead squat with the fat rope, and that was just.
Was it a larger diameter rope?
About that because I'm not competitive, something like that. What was that?
It was a larger diameter rope?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It was, I don't know the exact measurements, but I want to say almost twice the thickness of a normal rope.
Yeah.
And so, I had, I went out there in my lifters, and you know how the Reebok ones are plastic on the bottom, and for me it was really slippery. I had the hardest time clamping down on the rope, so it was no, I just felt like my technique went out the window, my legs were useless, and then my arms were shot. And holding on to a bigger circumference, a bigger rope, it was just like grueling. So, I mean, I think it was all fair, but that one really pissed me off because
I wasn't suggesting the events weren't fair. I really
dropped out of the top 10 in that workout, and I was, just really infuriated. But the year before, I was thinking, what the fuck with the half marathon row? I thought that was the stupidest thing.
Okay, wow, it's crazy that you bring that up. I was going to ask you because how tall are you?
I'm 5'3". Well, I say 5'3". I think I'm really 5'2". To be honest.
So not especially tall. If you are a shorter athlete going against a taller athlete on a row, it is regardless of form, it is a foregone conclusion.
Oh yeah.
It's just a matter of mechanics. Like if I am rowing next to if I was rowing next to Asia Bartow, even if I was pulling out 3 pulls for every one of his, he's still going to finish first because
it's a completely different workout for you than it is for him. Yeah. It is, and it was. I mean, it's always debatable. People were like, "Oh, well, you smaller athletes get these." Body weight workouts that are so much easier for you. BS. And it's really hard to measure because I honestly feel like up until this last year at regionals and the games, I feel like that was the first time they've really leveled the playing fields when they introduced the strict pull, like the strict handstand push-up work, like things like that. Yep. That's a true test of can you truly do body weight stuff? Because I think you can take a bigger girl and teach them great mechanics and how to kip, and they're going to be able to get away with it. They might not be as fast, or, a stronger guy as well. They might not be as fast as Chris Steeler, but they're going to be able to hold their own and come out pretty even, even kill. Where Chris or somebody as myself, there's no way I'm going to get under a 200-pound snatch. As much as I would love to do that, it's physically impossible for me. Or like you said, the row, it's just my pull. I only have, these puny little legs, and that's as long as my pull is going to be. And so, that is extremely frustrating when you're competitive. And I think especially for me to start the games off on that foot. And I know I'm not alone. I mean, I've heard interviews with Camille saying the same thing. That was the worst way to start my weekend, you just feel like you kind of got slapped in the face a little bit, oh, you think you're an athlete? How about this? You suck. And try to climb up out of that, being finishing, I don't know, bottom 30. So that was, I was really disappointed, I guess, because you work and train so hard all year long. And to me, the game should be an opportunity to kind of showcase, listen, I've done all this work, I have so much that I'm capable of, and then they sit you on a rower for an hour, It's great, thanks. That's awesome. Can't wait. So
no, I know there's they make the case of oh, we got to throw in we're throwing endurance stuff in there because that's part of being good at everything. And I get that, but I'm just there's just some people that are just not gonna do well mechanically on certain events, and that's where the install base for CrossFit in specific and the CrossFit Games in specific has gotten so big that people are starting to ask the question about weight classes. And people will come.
It's an interesting debate for sure.
It sure is, because some people are will just jump on that vehemently, being no, that's not the point of the the point is for no matter what size you are, you're good at some stuff and you're bad at other stuff. And I get that. That's a real fun academic argument. I personally believe that when you have 100 kilo a 100 kilo athlete versus a 60 kilo athlete, it's just not the same.
No. And I think, you know what? It's fine. I don't know. There doesn't necessarily have to be weight classes. I think as long as you look at the big picture, okay, we've got 7 workouts for the whole weekend that are going to determine who's the fittest, or 8, or whatever the programming ends up being. Do they end up balancing each other out? In the end, if we do have this endurance workout, is this truly going to benefit the smaller, faster, body weight athletes compared to, and with points too. That's the other thing. Sometimes the points, the way that they score a strength event compared to like an endurance event, like you can either end up making up more ground or losing more ground, which doesn't counteract, the other workout that they threw in, that bone that they gave you. You're like, awesome. Well, that didn't allow me to really make up enough space for that. So I don't know. It's so debatable, because then it's like, okay, well, you gave us a weight class now. Now are you going to start measuring my arm length compared to somebody else's arm length for handstand push-ups, or this kind of, movement and that sort of thing? And then you're kind of getting away from the whole just experience of like, let's get out and throw down, And so, but I agree. When it comes down, now we're starting to see a little bit more money in CrossFit and sponsors, and it's just going to get bigger. And so really, in some way, you do kind of need to level the field. But then again, I really believe that Dave Castro gets off in pissing people off. Like, he's not about trying to make friends and be, this conservative where everybody's happy and we're all playing together. I think he likes controversy a little bit. And so I don't think that you will necessarily ever see that. But who knows, who knows? So he'll not always and forever be in charge, or maybe he will for my lifetime anyways. So I guess we'll see.
And I don't I don't agree with a lot of the programming. That's fine. It's not like who am I? I don't matter. But I'm just like, especially for the Open, my thing is always all the like body weight cycling workouts. I'm just like, this is not a yard. Like, okay, you might be able to do like 7 minutes of burpees. That's banging. Great. That's awesome. That is not a primer for regionals. You get to regionals and if you got there because you're really good at body weight movements, you're going to have a real bummer of a time.
Oh yeah. No. And that was my exact example with my first year of going individual. I was awesome at any daily workout, body weight, anything, and then that was my first taste of like,
and then 100-kilo hang cleans.
We're putting weight on you've got to be able to get under that weight. And that's another thing that I'm really curious to see with the Open this year, depending on how they do it, the programming and how, I don't know, if it's just one workout for the week or, because anyways, I'm just curious because most competitive athletes who are their aim is the games. Their programming does not center around like that open structured workout. Like you said, they are focusing on their strength. They're focusing on their special skills. But now there's a little bit more added pressure to make sure you have a decent enough score to get into regionals. And I think the top games athletes, it's not going to affect them here nor there. But the ones that are on the cups, just on that edge, it's going to be a little tricky to figure out how am I going to balance this, because you want to look at the big picture. Like you said, they're going to get squashed if they're just good at burpees. So, and plenty about being able to cycle, strength cycles and the time it takes to actually see some difference in your numbers and the weight that you're moving, and that doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, it's really interesting, and you're definitely right, for sure.
No, and I'm not even really doing CrossFit these days, so I have no place to complain. I'm doing the Open because I think it would be fun, but I'm also like last year, the only event that I had half a chance on was deadlift ladder. And the problem was that I had injured my hamstring earlier that week, like literally that week. No. And so because of all the box step ups, by the time I got to a weight where I could actually like make some ground after I hit when I got to 315, by the time I got to 315, just because of repping out so much, my hamstring was loaded to the point where I went to pick up 315, which is not super big for me. I went to pick it up and I immediately went, I'm loaded. If I pull this off the deck, I'm 100% going to snap my hamstring. And I just like waved at the judge and just went, nope, I'm out. Like I had so much time on the clock. I had like time to, I had minutes and minutes and minutes to go. And I just looked and I was like, nope, I'm going to totally like blow a hamstring.
Yeah.
Because of all the cycling.
Is frustrating. And I think that's also why too, there's some girls that are consistently sitting at the top of the ladder, at the top of the, the games group, but you never know whose day it's going to be or who's going to be able to be healthy the whole season, you know, and those types of things happen. You said that was your event, and then you happen to have a hamstring issue going on, and there's also something weird that happens when you throw that combination together of a box jump and a deadlift. It's just so crazy and so different. But yeah, no, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I think for the most part, I don't know. I hope that the sport continues to evolve so that there is an amount of fairness in it, that there's a focus. I think even though, yeah, we are constantly varied, there is still something essential there that needs to happen when the programming comes together for it to truly be, in my opinion, like a CrossFit event or experience. And so, I don't know. I think it's always fun to kind of watch and see where it goes. So, yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah, you know, so I was curious. We've been talking about CrossFit. Like, this isn't necessarily we don't have to make it a competitive situation, but I was curious. Have you had any contact with the with Grid League?
Oh, no, actually, my coach, he made it a point that I should completely avoid it. I personally have no real opinion of it. I think it's interesting. I like that it's giving athletes an opportunity to really, make it a career, be able to have a lifestyle because the athletes that are going to the games this is their career. This is what they're doing with their time. You have to train full time in order to be there. And yet the contracts are very limited. If you look at the amount of professional CrossFit athletes that have, and the amount of money that they're actually bringing in, it's pathetic compared to most professional sports, you know? And it shouldn't be, because there's a draw. People love to come and support the event. You know, this is something that I've experienced myself that I can relate to, you know, and we're at different levels, but you have a good sense of community. And so there is no reason, I think, that those CrossFit athletes shouldn't benefit from that and be able to have contracts and get a monthly stipend. And so that definitely interests me. I think they have some problems with the way that they're formatting it, though. And I heard it best from, and I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for dropping names. I don't think they would mind, but CJ Martin was just saying how, you know what people love to see in sport in general, not even CrossFit, but just sport alone, is that struggle, that human struggle where you can tell, they're on the brink of, collapsing from exhaustion or whatever it is, but they hold on, you know, and they kind of grind through and work through. And I think with the Grid League, you don't see that because it's such an interval, tag in, tag out, tag in, tag out. And it's everybody could go for hours, especially with the conditioning that these athletes have. And so I think that, I don't know, I think that's not as exciting to watch. They're not going to get, you know, the support that they need in order to make something like these contracts continue to grow and I guess last over the years. So I'm curious. It's still, you know, last year was the first year that it kind of came and went around, and I was just really still focused on my games experience. I'm more open this year to just have more of a team experience, to be able to have a little bit more fun. And I think the Grid League definitely offers that, a little bit more showmanship, a little bit more relaxed environment, and like you said, a little bit more of a defined season, which was fun. So there's a lot of great elements there, but I still think it needs some fine tuning. So, sure, but I might not be the best. My opinion might not be the greatest because, to be honest, I've never sat down and watched a whole match, you know.
Well, you should, because what you just described, they did tweak it so that there's tag in, tag out portions, but there is specific in every air quotes match. There is a specific event in which it's essentially all onto one person.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I was really asking was if you had because you actually seem like you might be a good fit for one of those teams, because you kind of, in my opinion, fit into at least physically the area of an Annie Sakamoto, where like you can, like gymnastics, you know, like proficient, quick, you know, like, and she's been really good for I believe it's I'm always going to screw it up. It's either LA's or San Francisco's team. It's the ones in white, but I forget.
No, and I agree with you. We're definitely have very similar strengths, and that's so fun when you get to get out and do what you're good at. Like, that's every athlete's dream. Like, if I could write up my own workout to like demo in front of everybody, like, hell yeah! Like, look how awesome I am. So, and then being on a team, like, I think it creates an opportunity to really get to know other athletes that you're competing against. That for me, I like those opportunities are limited, and the times that I do get to see them kind of outside of the games, outside of regionals, and just doing like charity events or, you know, just other invitation events, like that's the time that you really get to know each other and develop more of a friendship base, and which makes it a lot more fun and enjoyable. So I'm definitely open to it. My concern is, you know, just the rumors going around like, oh, it's not going to last and you're on the bad side and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't get too political. I really don't. I don't know. I can't say my loyalties lie anywhere, but outside of, I would like opportunity, and I don't want a door closed to me because of whatever, and I don't think it necessarily is. So, it's something that I'm open to looking into. In fact, we were recently talking about it. So, I don't know.
And I've heard similar things from some people, like they're concerned that that people would react poorly to them. You know, the term jumping ship springs up, and I don't. I mean, I've only heard. I would never say anything definitively because I don't know firsthand. But all I can say is like, Kristen Clever is now associated with Grid, and she, like, you couldn't think. I can't think of a person more directly involved in CrossFit or in the games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. It wouldn't ever keep me from going to the games per se, but there's certain sponsors within the sport that won't, they'll wash their hands of you if you are on a grid league. The other thing I know too is like HQ, if you're coaching for them, like that's a no-go. You can't do both. And for me, I think my only other honest hesitation, like the other two things aside, like really that's not here nor there for me. I don't have these big grand sponsorships that I'd be like out a ton of money if I just, I'd be making more money going to the grid league. But it would be the commitment between travel, because I wouldn't be willing to relocate, you know what I mean? So
there's a couple of those things where they insist you stay in town. He went ahead and
signed last year, and they were like, oh, it's in and out. We compete on Friday or whatever. We fly you in Thursday, and you're home Friday night or Saturday. But the reality of last year was it was more like he was gone 4 to 5 days out of the week, which is, a lot bigger commitment than he originally. And I don't know. That's just what I've heard. And so that would be, for me having kids, I wouldn't, I'd be down for a weekend. Heck yeah. Like, mom's going to go out for the weekend. I'll be back and be happy to, take care of y'all when I get home in a couple days. But I couldn't commit to like that much time away from family and my house and other responsibilities here. So, but maybe it just depends on the team that you're signed with and where it is they're located. So I think, there's lots of opportunity there. And I appreciate what they're trying to do for the athletes. I think it's great.
I saw that you had a Muay Thai background. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. When we first got married, we lived in Monterey, California, and there's Greg Dow. He has his own just gym out there, and he had lived in Thailand for quite a few years in the 70s, and I guess he, I don't know all the titles or whatever, but he held quite a few titles. He was like legit, and I just kind of stumbled into his place not knowing anything about it. And he was an amazing teacher, instructor. And I was like, this is awesome. Like bag work, sparring. I never actually did any like competitions. I never actually had that experience.
You never even did like a smoker or anything?
Just kind of playing around in the gym, which was really funny. I don't know if I could do that. I love all the conditioning and the training, but the first time we sparred, my girlfriend, like, I don't know if I wasn't taking it super seriously or if I was more worried about hurting her, but she came out and with a hook got me on the jaw, and I was like, I just remember seeing red and like, I wanted to cry, I wanted to go beat her up. I didn't know if that was okay. It was like, as a girl, I don't know, it was like weird mixed feelings. Like, can I do that? I'll feel bad if I hurt her. So I'm sure I could work past that, but to be honest, I don't know if I want to get comfortable with being like punched in case. Like, that's some serious, like, hardcore, like, I don't know, you're just tough, like, mentally, and that's just, it's crazy. But I love all the conditioning, like the bag work and everything is great. There's nothing really like it. But yeah, I did that for it was about a year and a half while we were there, and had a lot of fun with that, but never did anything official, so it was fun. Have you done Muay Thai?
Yeah, I did. I was trained with Seton and Tiago back in it was probably like 8 years ago now. But yeah, I trained there. Trained with them for a while, and I was training jiu-jitsu with 10th Planet for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
So I was just curious. Because like I used to train with a lot of like badass girls, and so like I.
Oh yeah, yeah, they would have to be like that's pretty cool. I have a ton of respect for them, and it's an amazing sport. They're definitely very strong athletes, both mentally and physically. So it's really neat. Yeah, I don't know. My husband teases me every now and then. He's like, what if you went in now? Like, after, all your CrossFit conditioning and strength gains and everything, he's like, you would be pretty tough. And I'm like, I just don't know. How do you get used to that? Like, I don't know, but
getting hit is the hardest part. Just keeping your eyes open when you get punched in the face is the hardest part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't. I would have a hard time with that for sure. But yeah, I guess it's like anything. If you decide you're going to do it, figure it out. So that's pretty cool, though.
Cool. So I was curious, what's your, we like to ask everybody, like, what's your day-to-day diet like? Cause like a lot of it, like personally, like, it's not our goal, but we do like to dispel the myth that CrossFit athletes are all paleo, because we've found that most of them aren't.
Oh, to be honest, I'd be surprised if somebody still believes that. I think it's funny. It's just not sustainable, like, to be 100% honest. I think maybe my first year in, when I was first, figuring out CrossFit, I tried to eat a pretty strict paleo diet, and then came to find, like, it's just, I couldn't sustain my numbers, my energy level, and make through 2 workouts a day, 2 training sessions a day, just strictly eating paleo. So yeah, no, that went out the window right away. I still do try, I don't know, I guess that's not true. I kind of just eat whatever I want. And breakfast is like bacon and eggs. Yeah, and that's what I figure. That's part of life. I mean, that's why I work my ass off, so I can enjoy food. Like, food is a fun way to socialize, right? There's a lot of good food out there. So, but also, like, being a woman, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there were points in my life where I was like bipolar, because you'd like want a brownie, so you'd eat it, and then you'd eat it and be like hating yourself because you ate a brownie. Like, it was like, my husband was like, dude, you are crazy. Like, you're a grown ass woman. You wanted to eat that, so eat it and quit talking about how you just ate a brownie. So I don't know. Yeah, I really do. But when I back off, like, my programming, and I'm not going in twice a day or whatever, like, I do adapt, like, my portion size and that sort of thing. So I don't ever measure or weigh anything, but just, just eyeballing, like, all right, yeah, I don't need like 2 heaping servings of sweet potatoes anymore. I'm just going in, once a day and kind of dialing back. So I'll do that just because I don't know, it just makes me happier. I feel better the leaner I am. So, but yeah, right now when we're programming and And training twice a day. I just eat whatever I want. Fridays are pizza night, pizza and beer.
Nice.
What
kind
else?
of beer?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, when I'm getting, when we're just weeks out from regionals and then regionals going into games, I literally, besides just having like a protein shake right before I go to bed, I'll keep like peanut butter by my bed because I'll wake up starving in the middle of the night. Like, seriously, it'll be like 2 or 3 and I'm like, I have to eat now. And so, a couple tablespoons of peanut butter, drink of water, and I'll go back to bed. But, yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know, just kind of learn to go by how I'm feeling. There will be times that I'm craving more of a clean diet and I'll want darker greens and just healthier stuff. And I'll just kind of listen to my body. And then other times also like, I'm not going to get throughout the day without some bread or rice or something heavy that's going to sit in my stomach, So, yeah, I think most athletes, competitive athletes, have just learned like to trust that intuition. We're smart about our training and how we're lifting or moving that day. Like we should trust those cravings and that instinct of what our body needs, if it's proteins or carbs and the balance of it all. So I kind of just do. I don't measure. I don't pay too much attention. So like I said, the only time I have is when I'm backing off or I feel like I'm not training as hard, and then I'll try and be a little bit more conscious about eating cleaner. So, yeah. What about you? I'm guessing yes, no paleo?
Oh, God, no paleo. Like, we're like, I tell everybody, I was like, if you're just starting in CrossFit or any training program and you want to do paleo because you've got a bunch of adipose tissue and you want to lean out, it's great for that.
Okay.
It's great for that. But when you want to play with the big kids about like 6 to 18 months out, you're going to start eating Pop-Tarts again.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And I agree. I mean, I got to, and that was hard for me. And I think a lot of female athletes too, even if you are competitive. There was a point the year before last where my coach was like, listen, you hit 2,500 calories or you're going to be like, you will have like more burpees or something horrible. Cause I was like, oh my God, I'm heavier than I've ever been. It's just stupid things like, and I don't know, you do feel a difference when you have to try and balance your cardio or your anaerobic thresholds, things like that, and be able to maintain a strong pace. So it definitely messes with you when you're putting on strength and weight and the muscle. So you have to learn how to move a little bit differently. But sometimes it is like I don't know, it did make me a little bit anxious, and I had to learn to just eat, feel your body. And I think too, the athletes who are so overly critical, I think you see that a lot in injury and, their inability to recover, because obviously they don't have the calories and the nutrients their body needs to be able to keep up with it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Listen up, kids, carbs are your friend. Just get it. Carbs are your friend. And unless you are a stage athlete or you're an athlete in which weight classes are an issue, throw your scale away, because the scale is not a representation of your fitness level. Now, if you are a weightlifter, then you got to keep your scale because there are weight classes. Yeah. If you're a figure athlete, sure, you're a stage athlete, that's fine. But if you're just
I think I was just going to say, I think even at the beginning, though, there's a learning process that maybe not. Get rid of the scale and figure out your performance first. What are you capable of? Like you were saying, if you're lifting, I think it's more important to fine-tune your technical side, your strength side, and then from there dial in okay, this is where I'm the strongest. This is where, I perform at my best. Maybe I could squeeze into this class and that's realistic for me, and I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I think gauging those things from a scale, that would be really hard. I guess I grew up in a gymnastics background, and we had so many eating disorders around me, and I struggled for a little bit through college, and for me, I think the scale it's so negative. It's not related to health at all. I don't see it being a measurement of, your true health And so, but like you said, there are some sports that are dictated by that number that comes in. And that was kind of fun. Being healthier now and not being so concerned about what a number on a scale says going into, to cut weight, that was pretty cool. Like, I've never done anything like that before until a couple of years ago. And that is fun. And it was fun to be around other athletes that do this, consistently at different lifting meets that they go to. So that was neat to see. But I agree with you. Definitely don't be afraid of your carbs. Like, they're good. They have their time and place and their meaning and purpose. And so, yeah, for sure.
And you raised an interesting point. And I don't want, I'm speaking from the enviable position of somebody who doesn't have to worry about this as much, although I do worry about it. We could say that the playing field is level, but that's a lie. The truth is, females are predisposed by conditioning to base their results on aesthetic and aesthetic goals and the scale, because that's what they've been programmed over time to believe. Even if they're raised in a positive environment, outside factors are going to make them think that their fitness goals should be based around how attractive they are to another person.
Yeah. I had even being a grown woman and being secure in my own skin and knowing what I wanted, having my goals and aspirations being towards a competitive athlete and making it to the game, I still had this strange experience where I was like, wait a minute, like, who are all the girls getting the attention, getting the sponsors? You're going to name drop like Christmas Abbott and Andrea Ager, and they're all beautiful women. Like, I'm not saying anything negative, but that's what I was seeing. Like, that's what our social, our society and our culture was embracing and putting out there, and they were the ones traveling the world and getting money and contracts with Reebok and whatever. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, as an athlete, I could, I don't know. I was just like, I don't get it. And so it was this frustration because I think especially for women in women's sports, I don't want to say aren't taken seriously, but oftentimes the people you're going to see on the front page and on the ads and getting the attention are going to be the pretty girls, and that are a little bit, leaner and kind of fit that shape that we've kind of, been taught to chase, like you were saying. I don't know if that's all true. I think there's definitely
I'm gonna put you at ease.
Being strong.
I'm gonna put you at ease.
I want 100% here, and I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable about their body type. But I honestly feel that way. That it's still that way, to a certain extent.
No, it 100% is that way. Like I won't even listen to people who will suggest that the playing field is level, because the truth is, the guy who is the biggest and strongest is the one that everyone reveres.
Oh, yeah.
The female that is the biggest and the strongest gets respect, but she's also not getting on the Wheaties box because she was told, even in an athletic environment, she was told
the spotlight or the attention. Oh, yeah. I agree.
Was told, she was like,
still too much about sex appeal.
Yep.
And that's any sport, not just CrossFit. That's any sport. You can look and as a younger girl, I remember it was like this crazy, wait, she's not the best? Wait, why is she on?
Why is the bronze medalist on the Wheaties box?
Yeah, and it sucks. Come on. It's hard to keep telling yourself, you know what, screw them, it doesn't matter. Because the truth of the matter is we're all human and we want to be adored. We want to be, and maybe that's the wrong word, admired. We want to be, just appreciated. And it is hard. It definitely is hard. And that's an inner battle. And I agree with you 100% if you meet an athlete that says, I don't care. Because they do. At some level, they do care, because that's just human nature, unfortunately. We want to be liked. We want to be, we want to be everybody's friend. We want to be appreciated. And I think, I don't know how we'll ever get away from that. But, I do. Let's just start putting the first place strongest women out in the limelight, and embracing and loving them regardless of their body type. And so, easier said than done, but I think that's definitely a step in the right direction.
I agree. And you can make the argument that it gets better every year, but it gets better incrementally. It's never as fast as we would like. The momentum has luckily been shifting in one direction, but it's not doing it nearly fast enough.
No, and as a mother of 2 girls, it has improved, but it's not going to be there by the time they're at puberty. You know, they're still going to be dealing with these issues. And yeah, it's interesting. I've had, for me growing up, and I've always been kind of a strong, like in gymnastics and my genetic build, like I've just always had some serious triceps and biceps. And I remember I had issues with that. And I even had a hard time receiving compliments because I thought they were being sarcastic. But mostly it was they didn't know how to say it. Like, people think they're trying to compliment you, but they'll say things like, "God, your arms are huge," you know? And I don't know why. Maybe I should just be like, "Yeah, they're huge." Yes, but some things, when people say things like that, you know, and I've had other women say to me, you know, at clinics, like, "Oh yeah, I want to train. I'd like to compete, but I don't know if I want to get as big as you are," you know? And it's
wow, that is supremely insulting.
It is. Thank you.
Heads up to anybody who approaches any female athlete.
My friend was there because I wasn't going to say anything, but she comes over. She's like, "Oh, honey, please, you couldn't if you wanted to."
Oh, that's awesome.
You don't have it, basically. Like, you're never be that big. But so
that's a Schwarzenegger quote.
Oh yes, I have seen that before.
Yeah, it's somebody said I don't want to look like he's like I want to get in shape, but I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his response was, "Don't worry, you never will."
Yeah, and I hadn't heard. So at the time when it happened, I'd never heard that before, and I was grateful. I was like, "Oh, thank you." Like, and there is deep down, I know, like genetically and the way that I work, like, you couldn't go into the gym and get to this point, you know? And so there should be a sense of pride there. But then again, it's like my ego and my image that you're kind of offending and poking at. And so I'm kind of like, oh gosh, yeah, I kind of look huge right now. And so that was my thought. And then I did see, and I actually do have that posted on my Instagram feed, because when I came across it, I can't remember where I saw it the first time, but I was like, thank you. Like, that's so true. Like, how dare you? Like, you wouldn't go up to a stupid person and say something like insult. You wouldn't insult, you know, these other aspects of people's lives that, like, might be obviously true, but you're not going to say it to their face. But and I think people don't hesitate when it comes to strength and size. Like, you're not going to go to a fat person and be like, "Oh gosh, you're disgustingly fat." But then people don't ever hesitate going to a female and being like, "Wow, you're really big. Like, your arms and legs are really, do you want to get any bigger? Are you trying to get bigger?" Like, I wouldn't lift anymore. Or just stupid things like that are really hurtful, that for some reason people feel like they can cross that line, which is, I don't know, it baffles me. But
yeah. And actually what you're describing is, pointing out people's flaws is inaccurate. What that person more accurately did would be like walking up to a scientist and saying, "You know, I'd like to read some books, but I don't want to be some damn nerd." Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to get kind of smart.
You're right.
Could I get just like a little smart, but I don't want to be some nerd like you. You're walking up to somebody who is your better, and you are devaluing their accomplishments because of your own hangups.
And that's where the insult lies. That's exactly where it lies, because you're right. Like, all the hours of hard work and dedication, and you're insulting me for that. Like, wow, how dare you? So, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, well said.
It's the fire. I get fired up. I get fired up about that stuff, and then like
I think you're right.
And then the other one, and we don't have to get into this if you don't want to, but it's a thing I just like to always point out. Like, I have stopped reading comment threads entirely. Like, even on YouTube, like when I look at like videos on YouTube, no matter what the video is, I make sure that the comment thread is below the bottom of my screen. Yeah. Because it is the YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the reply and comment section of any of those venues is the most vile cesspool of useless human beings I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You can post a picture of a kitten rescuing a puppy from a burning building, and somebody will find a way to insult that kitten.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. I think, and to take it even another step further, I'll go through periods where I won't get on social media. And not that what people are posting is negative. It's just so imbalanced, right? It's the best of whatever we're doing at that time. And I do it, it's like, oh, this is a great moment, or look how cool my kids are, or like I hit this PR. And there's sometimes where it's like, for whatever reason, we forget, and then we start comparing all of our weaknesses to so-and-so's strengths, and then in our heads, everybody's life is better than ours, and I'm suicidal, and it's just Whoa. It gets so skewed, this perspective. You're like, wow, how did I take that to heart and think that, it's, I don't know. I get out of control with it sometimes, and so yeah, and I know that's kind of different from what you were saying. Luckily, I haven't experienced too much of that. I have had a few off comments sometimes, and it hurts. And I think, you've heard it before. People don't realize you are talking to a real person. This is somebody's real life. And because you're not face to face, and it just doesn't, there's no connection there. They're just sitting at home or wherever they are by themselves, and they don't feel like they'll have to deal with that repercussion of throwing out something just horrible and mean and whatever it is, for whatever their reason is. I don't think they think about it the way they would if you were face to face with a person, So, I hear what you're saying, and I don't know. I don't feel like, it's hard, because whenever you do post things, you're kind of in a vulnerable spot. You're putting yourself out there. And so you're kind of open up to the good and bad of what people want to say. And not that I want to give the negative any energy, but it is that chance you take. And it sucks that there's people that are out there that are like that, unfortunately. So
they're useless human beings, and they should all go kill themselves. That's how I don't have gray areas on a lot of issues. I'm kind of like, no, if you've posted one negative thing about somebody just to make yourself feel better for 2 seconds, quietly go in the bathroom and kill yourself. How about that? You're a pointless human being. You're not going to cure cancer. You're not going to cure cancer. Effectively, go kill yourself.
Yeah, you're not helping anybody out right now. No, that's awesome. I can appreciate it. I think that's great that you're very, on point with what you feel. I agree with you, though. It's stupid. It's meaningless and destructive and hurtful and all that. So, it has no use.
So we're gonna wrap up shortly, but I wanted to know what's the plan for the next 6 months. What's your 6 months look like?
Oh, this is a time in my life that I feel like I'm kind of shifting. I'm coming into a new energy, I guess you could say. I feel, I don't know, my ego has kind of taken a back seat. The first year, I wanted to make it to the games. I needed to prove to myself that I could get there. I felt like I could. I needed to prove to myself. And so, I qualified to the games, but then I ended up in the bottom 30, and that wasn't satisfying to me. I needed to prove that I could make it back to the games and improve upon that performance. And I feel like I experienced that this last year. And then coming out of the games, this year, I don't know, I look at the season and I'm like, God, is all that time and energy worth it? Does it fuel me enough to put in, that hours and hours of, hard work? And I keep thinking all right, just kind of go with the flow, and you'll kind of come to your own conclusion. And I honestly still feel like I'm in limbo, and it's definitely past the point of okay, we need to throw our hat over the fence one way or the other, especially with as competitive as regional is going to be. So I don't know if I can answer that question, to be honest. I wish I could. I really feel like I'm not ready to walk away from competition completely yet, but I also feel like I'm in a place that I kind of want to have fun this year. Like for me,
maybe you take
where
a break
I train
this
right now, a lot of it is solo training. I'm going in and I'm doing my programming by myself, and I've done that for the past 4 years. And so it's just, I mean, if you can imagine, like it's lame sometimes, but I had that goal and that drive and it didn't matter. Like I could always get through that. But this year I just feel like I need more. I want the camaraderie. I want to have fun. I want to just kind of enjoy the experience. So before I even tell my mom, I'll tell you because she doesn't listen to the podcast. All
right, exclusive, sweet.
I'm really, it's not that juicy, but she'll freak out when I do decide to tell her. But I really want to live overseas with my family one more time. We lived in England a few years back, and I would like to go to Thailand for a couple of years. So that's kind of my focus. Yeah, that's a definite, that's something I'm working towards and making that happen this fall. So some travel and some more life experience, I think, with some fitness on the side for sure.
All right, very cool.
So, yeah, should be fun. Looking forward to it. So we'll see what happens. I'm still kind of stumbling through right now. I'm excited, and thanks a lot for calling me. It's been a lot of fun talking with you.
Oh, you've been an absolute delight. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, thank you for being on. Just real quick, do you want to plug your box, website, your social media?
Oh, sure. So I have an Instagram account. That's probably my favorite place to kind of, if I do put anything out, it's usually through Instagram, and my name is under Tuesday's Mom. Actually, that's my oldest daughter's name is Tuesday, so it's not related to, I mean, it is. My posts are related to CrossFit, but my tag isn't. So Tuesday's Mom on Instagram. This Facebook is Tiffany Hendrickson. I don't have an athletes page. I just kind of keep it all together. So my family life with my travels, with my sports and everything is there. I train at Wasatch CrossFit in Utah, so it's a great facility. I'd love to have some training partners. Anybody's welcome to stop in and train with me. And yeah, Damon Stewart's head coach. He's an amazing coach and programmer, mentor. So great person he's been very influential in my career. So then, yeah, been good. Cool. I think that's all I have to plug.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on. This has been Squats and Espresso, and we will talk to you Quadzillas later. This has been a presentation of the Squats and Espresso Radio Network. For more, go to squatsannespresso.com.